We don't want to just be some deli that you're working at. We want to be like, hey man, I work for Froggy's.
Yeah, there's something to say
awesome.
about. There's something to say about you. You know, you're making all these positions and doing all these things and helping all these people out to pay their mortgages and their bills.
Yeah.
There's something to say about that. It's not all about the money. It's about like what you're getting back.
Well, welcome to another episode of Grow with the Bros. Today, we have owners Tony Russo and John Russo of Froggy Sandwiches, and we're going to talk about the journey of a local deli sandwich company that has 5 locations. We're going to talk about challenges, aspirations, and transitioning from a small business to a multi-location brand. And then I'll also maybe share some insights of our journey and how it might even help you. So welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us so much, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This is awesome.
Absolutely, our pleasure. So I'd love for you guys to just give us a little bit of a story. How'd this all get started?
How far back you want to go until we were like 11 or like 20?
Let's do the origin story. You know, the first deli. You know how this came about. I'd love to hear from there.
Okay. So I guess we'll start with like rap and roll.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was 19 myself, and one of my buddies said to me, "Hey," he was working at a gym at the time, and he's like, "There's this guy, and he's got this one deli, and then he's got another deli, but it's not really doing so good. Can you come and give us a hand? Do you know anybody?" And my buddy thought of myself, and then so I started talking to the guy, and I went into the store, and we were supposed to be like the makeshift managers, I guess, at the time to try to rebuild this guy's store that he had. And so immediately I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, who's coming with me? And I'm thinking to myself, all right, brother's coming with me because we had past deli experiences in the past. And so it kind of started there. That was like 2006, 2007. Mm-hmm. And then, we worked there together from probably 2007 until 2010, 11-ish together.
Yeah.
And then John can kind of fill in the rest from there.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so then we got me and him were running the show. Our other buddy that was there, he was out of the picture a little bit by then. And then the owner that had multi-units, he had another deli in a local town next to us. He offered us to buy the business. He was like, hey, you guys want to take this over? And we're like, what were we, 21, 22.
Yeah, they were very young, yeah.
Whatever. We were young, and Tony was working there with me, and he wound up, during the offering, I wound up taking it over, and we bought it. And we pretty much didn't have any money to ourselves at that point, so we were like, what do we do? And he was like, hey, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out. And it was pretty cool. A different change of pace for us, getting into our own business at a young age, but we didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I took in my brother Bob as a partner.
Yeah.
And we ran it like that for like a deli thing for a few years. We sold everything under the sun.
Yeah. From gum to nail clippers to what else do we sell? Pepto-Bismol, whatever you guys needed, we had it.
You might need that.
Gas tanks.
Yeah.
And was that Froggy's then?
Yeah, so
that's how it started.
So when we bought it, it was actually under the name of Rap and Roll from 06 till 11.
Okay.
And then when we bought it, we changed it back to Froggy's.
Okay.
We changed the name back. We were trying to figure out what name to do it, and it was like, we went through all these weird names,
Oh, I know.
So we went through all these weird names. I mean, I think there was Frenzies. It was
Frenzies.
I don't remember hearing that one.
It was some weird names, and then the place was previously called Froggy's from like 1970. So we were like, you know what? Let's just name it that because people knew it. They're like, isn't this used to be Froggy's?
Yeah.
Most of the customers would come in and be like, wasn't this Froggy's? So I was like, you know what? That's the name. So we went with it.
That's all. Now, how do you decide if it's a good deal? That's one. I've never bought a business, right? So you're working there.
It was not a good deal.
So it wasn't a good deal.
No. So it was. I think if you actually look at it, previous to, I think you may run into these kind of things too. Some of the things you did in the past, you may be like, oh, that wasn't the right thing. But in the moment, that was probably the best thing because that's what you got to, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't the best deal, but it was the best deal for a 22, 23-year-old guy that was in the deli world, I guess, and you were getting an opportunity to own your own business. You're like, what's going on? So I don't think it was really the best deal, but we built it into a good deal. You know, I think when we first got there, we were doing about $300,000 in sales, and I think by 2012, I think we almost hit like over $1 million in sales. And
that's awesome.
Unit, selling bacon, egg, and cheeses for $2.
That's pretty impressive. We don't have to sell as many gutters to do $1 million, but it's still hard to hit $1 million, even gutters. Yeah. So that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about the, from just having one shop, kind of figuring out business to then having a vision. When did the vision grow to like, hey, we should have, or you tell me what the vision was.
I think even initially, I honestly don't even think at first we thought we were going to have more than one.
I can tell you my side of it. My side was I got this one store. I'm retiring in like 2 years. I thought I was set because I just thought owning your own business at 23, I was like, well, my life's goal, everything's just over. You know what I mean?
And it wasn't? You didn't retire in 2 years?
I didn't retire. Man. It just didn't happen. I don't know what the...
It's pathetic.
You see a lot of people, they go in and they own their own businesses and, they have these nice houses and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is good. I mean, I'm going to own my own business at 23. I'll be set by the time I'm 30.
30,
retired 31,
Sell
Here
it
I am, 35.
Millions.
So I think piece of the vision came. Tony left. He went to Arizona for about a year or two.
Yeah, about 15 months. It felt longer.
And when he came back, we were like, "Listen, we're going to go into business. We're going to pull in Tony again as a partner." Me and Bob were running the one shop, and we're doing well. And we were obviously doing a lot more in sales, and we thought the world of it. We just didn't know about the profits yet or any of that kind of stuff. And we were like, we're doing a ton of sales. We got to be making money.
Yeah, people are in the store, man.
So he came back, and we actually built out a pizzeria. And that took 18 months. We did all the work ourselves.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money building that out.
Yeah.
Took over the space right next door to our original 900 square foot deli, and we built a 2,000 square foot pizzeria.
Yeah, and the pizzeria wound up not working out, but it's all good because we expanded the original location because of it.
So that was in the same location right next door. So you had a pizzeria and a deli.
And we were killing it.
Yeah.
We were killing it.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was so busy, but I mean, we sold everything under the sun. I mean, literally from nail clippers to chicken marsala, we had it, man. It was almost like a diner hybrid deli pizzeria. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was cool.
Really?
Yeah. It was
That's crazy. And so when you say you were killing it top line sales, but not necessarily profit.
We don't even know. We were we were still in those years of like, hey, we got a ton of sales and the bills are getting paid and we're there,
Oh, we were there.
Tony was doing a lot of the pizza business in the beginning, and we had a pizza guy, and then we were having kids and stuff, and I think
crazy
changed a lot because of that. I think.
So then, I take it that you eventually got rid of the pizzeria and you focused on the sandwiches.
Yes, just to try to simplify and for future growth. Honestly, it was too much. I mean, the sales that we were doing with that original store was like you almost needed a few managers. It was that kind of silly. Honestly.
So management, why? Because I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking a lot of I love niches, right? And you're just saying, hey, we sold everything under the sun and we're killing it. And I'm like, kind of goes against a lot of like what I normally think about business. So I'm very interested that if that was working so well, but you're saying
too hard to operate.
It wasn't scalable.
It wasn't scalable.
I think
add
that's
roofs
where
to the gutters, and that's what it was.
Yeah, and that's why like people say, well, why don't you do roofing? You're already there. I'm like, no, we just do gutters.
Yeah.
But, so that's why I'm curious.
And then it was an all-day business. I mean, we opened up at that point, we were opening up at 4:30 a.m., and we were closing at 9, 10, 11 p.m.
We were doing 24 hours for a couple of years.
We were doing 24 hours at the deli side at one point.
So no lifestyle for you outside of
zero.
business.
And on top of that, we were having young kids, and our wives were holding the fort down, and it was getting difficult. And Tony turned around, I think, 3 years in at least, and he was like, "Hey, can't be the pizza guy every day." You know what I mean? And then it started just tearing down, and that's when we started putting pizza guys in place. And then
we never found the right like manager at night. We were working on that for years. We kept thinking, oh, somebody will pop in, and they just never popped in.
And I believe that's why you see a lot of owners in their restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? Because it gets to the point where you know, you don't see a lot of people that own a restaurant that aren't there every day. So that must be probably one of the hardest things to figure out.
That was the transition. I think that was it.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think happened.
It's almost like a blessing in disguise, though, in hindsight.
We pushed ourselves to learn that lesson, and then we were like, hey, we don't want to be here every day for the next 30 years. And then, we will retire.
Start playing the tape forward.
We're starting to play the tape forward, and we're like, you know what, Tony, you don't want to miss out on your kids, so we can't be open late. That's great. And then I think it transformed everything from that going forward.
It did. It really
so take me down that journey. You closed the pizza place.
Yeah, well,
and
so I guess right after we opened up the pizzeria side, in the interim of that, Pauling came.
So timeline to timeline is really 2011. We changed it back to Froggy's on that one. 2015. It was a couple years after he was back. We were looking around for new sandwich shops anywhere. We were looking everywhere. I remember me and him looked at the Pauling store, actually. We were going to buy it.
Before that, yeah.
2 years before that. And then the guy wanted a lot of money. He wanted a lot of money to buy it. And we were like, you know what? We can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So we wound up getting the opportunity next door. There was a barber shop. We took over that, built about the pizzeria, 2015.
Mm-hmm. 2017,
we actually took over the Pauling store that we went and looked at.
It was too much money. It was like he wanted like 175.
Yeah, he wanted a ton of money for it. He wound up selling it to somebody else, but they went out of business.
Oh crap!
And then he called us. He's like, "Hey, you want in?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" We were looking at it. We loved it. Yeah. So we that's when we got 2017 was Pauling.
Yep.
And then literally 2019 was Brewster, another one that went out of business. We took it over, turned it into a nice company.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think we closed down the pizzeria 2 weeks before we opened our new Fairfield store in 2021, middle of COVID.
So you kept that going till your third store?
Yes.
Wow.
So
you guys must have been running ragged.
It was crazy.
It was wild. And then in the middle of all that, we were changing everything structure-wise.
So then the year comes 2020.
What happened there?
Oh,
I just actually looked at a report, and I was looking back at our sales at one of the right when COVID really hit, and we were doing sales for a month. What we were doing in a week, like right after and before that. You know what I mean?
Gosh. I'll never forget that first
whole
Monday,
month.
man.
It was crazy.
I'll never forget it, dude. I'll never forget it. It was like 9 a.m. and I just remember. I think I called John. I'm like, "Hey, man, we're screwed."
All this overhead,
dude. And people are like, "What are you worried about?" I'm like, "What am I worried about? We're kids. We like, you know what I mean? We're young guys. Like, I'm sound like we're 50 and we're like millionaires or something. Like, what am I worried about?"
We had
70% down in one day. On a Monday.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Yes.
And we had given the fact that we were building these assets and opening up units, everything we have was invested back into the company. So we had there was no
money to save you.
No back end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Been there.
So we only had one way to go. So we just kind of kept it going.
That is crazy.
It really is a kind of a nuts story.
Yeah.
So 2021, New Fairfield came?
Yeah, 2021, New Fairfield came, and that 2 weeks prior to that is when we closed down the pizzeria. It was all intentional.
Yep.
We probably still could have kept it alive, but you get to the point where you just kind of throw your hands up. You know?
I always said to them, the partners at that point, I was like, guys, I want to close it down when everybody still loves the pizza.
Yeah, it was actually getting pretty good towards the end there.
You get
started to figure it out.
If we close it down, everybody's like, "Yeah, good. That place sucked."
Yeah,
that's when you don't want to close down because you already made a bad name for yourself. We still have people today call for pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, this is now 2 years later.
That's hilarious.
You know what I just thought of that's pretty ironic? It's like the first probably 4 years of pizza actually wasn't that good. And the kitchen wasn't bad. And then it kind of flopped at the 4-year mark and the pizza got better. And then the kitchen kind of went the other way towards the end. We're like, what is going? We couldn't match them together well.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was a hard business, man. I feel sorry for pizza people. I mean, dude, my shoulder still hurts. I mean, honestly,
really?
Yeah, man, it's wearing, you're bent over. It's long days.
Flour all over you.
Flour in your eyes. You know, wives hate you. I mean,
I think one of the funniest things was when we first opened the pizzeria. This is a good little quick story. We were a bacon, egg, and cheese place. Yeah. Breakfast morning, right? You're trying to come in, get a bacon, egg, and cheese, and get out, go to work. You're already running late. You probably just woke up 10 minutes late to work anyways. You're stopping by to get a bacon, egg, and cheese. We're putting out bacon, egg, and cheese. It's right now at 45 seconds to a minute if Tony's on the grill. Wow. You know what I mean? We're like, you can come in, you can order, 45 seconds, you'll have a sandwich in your hand.
I'm not a master at many things, guys. I'm fast.
That's awesome.
So we launched the pizzeria. It's the first week, and they have me on the oven. And they're like, my pizza guy was at this point. He goes, "Hey, John, you can run the oven tonight." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I'm pulling out pizzas totally raw. Oh, because I'm thinking I'm trying to move fast like the bacon, egg, and cheese. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing.
Yeah, even I had experience with a pizza prior, but like
it's a waiting game. It's a totally different business.
It's not even just that. It's like dude, you work for a gutter company, then you own the thing. It's like apples and oranges. It's like a whole different thing. Then there's a stress on you from it. It's like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what was keeping you up at night at that point? You got 4 locations. You're closing
little
a pizza
kids
store.
at the house.
Yep.
Wives are not happy
because of the time.
You're coffeeed up just to try to stay awake, so
Yep.
then you can't sleep.
Yeah.
It was gnarly times.
Yeah. For me, it was more like just at that point. I mean, Tony knows now, being as close as he is to where we're at, you know, and in the leadership end of it, it was like everything was worried on me. I mean, there was like, he was handling some of the pizza schedules, but I was handling at that point when the pizzeria and all the other stores started going. I was handling like all the schedules at one point. We didn't have any systems in place.
So that's how you delegated.
We were writing stuff on paper.
You were doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
You were doing a lot of the business back end.
Yeah. For many years, that's how it was. Even when we had partners.
But then even there were some times in the mornings where if somebody called out in the mornings, I'd have to go to the deli side and go assist them. So I'm not doing 12-hour days. I'm doing 18, 20-hour days.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you got control of that. I mean, obviously
we got rid of it.
you scaled, but now you have to like descale, simplify in order to scale better.
Again.
So that was I think that was kind of the hardest part about all this stuff is like you're going to lose to win.
Yeah. I mean,
So
you used
you
to have a
have to-
chicken waffle sandwich.
It's crazy.
We had crazy stuff.
Crazy
man.
stuff.
Yeah, it was. We've done so many things, and
We did
you
a
have
French toast, bacon, egg, and cheese once. I thought it was like the most smartest idea ever at the time, and I bit into it and I burned the roof of my
used to
mouth
have the-
because I'm
what
like,
was
oh, this is gonna be so
Remember,
great.
we used to have the
and hot.
pancake package. We used to have a wrap
I forgot
with a
about
pancake inside of it with an egg sandwich in it. It was like the wildest thing.
Dude, but you're in the thick
Jimmy
of it.
Borhill, remember that one?
I forget about this stuff. Like you're in the thick of it. You're in 70, 80, 90, 100-hour weeks. You don't even know what's happening. You're just on autopilot, man.
So I think what happened then is we were trying to reorganize, and I don't think all of us were on the same page.
Because you had 3 partners.
So we had
No,
me
there
and
was 4.
It was
Four
4
partners
of
at
us.
one
Well,
point.
if 4 partners by 2019-ish, 18,
Yeah.
19-ish, but we had me, and it was 3 of us for a little while, but we were all on different pages. You know, one partner wanted to just make money and just try to drive it home and live a good life. One partner was probably me, totally off the rails, wanted to just keep on going because I needed to figure out something.
Yep.
And then
I
he
think
was
it
so
was
deep in the pizza, making pizza, he didn't even know what was going on
Day-to-day
the
operations.
outside.
Like
You know?
it didn't matter to me the numbers. I'm worried about flour. I'm worried about who's cooking the bacon. I'm worried like
keeping the wheels on.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We were hanging on by a thread, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I'd love to. I definitely want to hear about the partnership thing because I think a lot of people want to hear about that. But let's just circle back real quick. So now you have 5 stores.
Yep.
How are you able to manage, 5 times the amount or 4 more stores than you did when you guys were going
With
nuts
with less guys.
and now having the quality of life that you would want to have? What were some of those steps?
So this is where I definitely applaud John on this. Is like people ask us all the time, like, why do you guys close at 4, man? Extend your hours. And even me at first, I was like shaking my head at John. I'm like, is this guy really talking about closing at 4 o'clock? Most people in the, we don't like to use the term, is deli. They do 6 to 6.
Yeah.
So when we did 6 to 4, a lot of people are kind of up in arms, like, what are these guys doing? I didn't really comprehend it at first. Even there's still times now where I'm like, damn, maybe we should extend hours. But then I look back to his whole take on it, and it's beautifully said. He can maybe chime in on that real quick.
Yeah, so obviously we were there. We were doing all the crazy hours. So we were like, what can we do to make this smoother for not only us, if we're going to put a manager in place one day, how are they going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
They're not a partner. We were doing it, but we were owners of the company, so you can expect us to do that. But
Yep.
if you're going to put somebody in place to do it, why are they going to do it for a paycheck?
Yeah.
Say, you know what I mean? So I think we restructured it then because we want to do a 1-shift place. So 6 to 4, you can do in 10 hours. It's a long day, but it's not a long day in the deli world.
Things go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's a fast-paced business. A lot of people like the sandwich shop, deli world, and pizza business because it's just, everything's just moving. You're moving. So restructuring it, I think it started with the culture. Started with building it so it's something that people want, so then you can kind of put people in place to run it.
That's towards the end of the pizza. I was having the biggest problem is I was concentrating more on who's coming in at night than I was actually concentrating on the food. That's a problem. You know what I mean? Like who's coming in? Not only that, who's the leader? And then who's the leader?
Yeah.
Who's driving this shit? Man,
So even fast forwarding to now is it's just a structure. All these little things. We went away from paper schedules, went to a scheduling thing, stuff like that. We went to a POS system so we can track all of our reports. That's how I got to the point where I was like, let's close down the nights. I was watching the nights. I'm watching the labor versus the sales. And I'm like, you know what? It's worth it. But
if it was for one person, that's not cool. Who wants to run a business
one
like
person
that?
or two people running the show. And then even then, a lot of the night kind of crew, not to bash on the younger crowd of it, but we weren't into the job as much. We had a few core younger high school kids that came in and rocked it out of the park from 4 to 7 or 4 to 9 when we used to be working those shifts.
That's how I will.
But they were few and far between. So we were losing customers because people didn't care as much about the quality of the food going out at night.
Our day shift people are super invested.
And if you mess up a customer at night, you can lose them during the day.
That's it.
So you were like, I was looking at all these reports. He was flour all over his face, how to, keep this whole thing running, you know what I mean? And I'm like, this is, that's why I came to the conclusion of that.
So what else did you do besides cutting the hours? I mean, that's a big one. I mean, you're losing some money, but you're actually probably able to retain and attract some better people because now the hours. So like you said, there's a trade-off. What else did you do to make it more streamlined?
So in that, what's that McDonald's movie again? I always forget the name.
The Founder.
So there's a scene in it where they kind of remove the cigarettes and they remove the chicken wings and they remove. We did scale down our menu, but it's for operational purposes and for scalability purposes.
Yeah.
So we revamped a lot of our operation stuff in the back end on even how to make sandwiches. I mean, we started really detailing that stuff, having slideshows on how to do it. We kind of honed in the training, you know what I mean? We have all these things that we started doing, the hot schedules with the scheduling, the POS system, all these kind of things. And then
I was just thinking about it this
clocking
morning.
in, the clocking out, all that kind of stuff. Like at one point, they didn't even clock in or clock out. I was writing or was trying to remember or finding out what people were working on a shift.
Hey, last week, what time did you leave on Wednesday?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. And they round way up.
We're actually running a business now.
Yeah,
at the end of the day.
I was actually talking to him on the way here. We're structuring it in the next 6 to 12 months. We'll probably have it structured where
even differently.
We don't. It's going to be even way advanced, even past where we are today. Where him or our regional manager can just run all 5 by themselves because my managers are so strong.
Yeah.
You started pushing these people to really step up and then compensating for that as much as you can. You know what I mean? As a company, as you grow.
That's awesome. Now, what did you learn from one build to the next? I'm sure your 5th build out was way better than your 2nd one. So
pizzeria build out, we learned to tile. I mean, right in the corner.
I can tile.
So you learned to do more types
of trades. We did all the tile work, all the sheetrock work. We did some of the framing work. We did all the trench work.
Are you simplifying your design though each time?
Yes.
Are you? And I kind of want to tie that into branding too, because branding is huge. At the end of the day, we're in New York. There's a lot of places that have an egg sandwich, right? So
there's a lot.
What is it that you're doing to differentiate? What is it that because there is something about an experience. There is something about when you walk into a cute little shop versus, other shops, where the tile's missing in the floor. It might be good food, but you're kind of sometimes put up with stuff. How do you guys balance having something that's, very, very common in New York is an egg sandwich, and that's what a lot of people like to eat for breakfast, but then also that experience that wants to keep people coming back in?
I think consistency, our food is just consistent. Our training's really consistent at this point. So people were putting out the same sandwiches, and since we're not doing so many different things, you're able to make the ones that you're doing better.
Now, how do you screw up an egg sandwich?
Oh.
Tell me, no, I'm serious. How do you screw up an egg sandwich?
Tony, you're the professional on the eggs.
I mean, you can go. There's a deep rabbit hole.
We'll do the.
It seems so simple.
30-second rabbit hole.
Okay. So real quick, cold bacon. Who wants to eat that?
Okay.
Maybe just rushing the egg too much or not popping the yolk. In our opinion, kind of it's gonna make it go longer. There's so many different variables to it. There's the heat of the grill. There's who's assisting you with it? Are there other tickets up? I mean, this is just
The roll.
Cracking the egg and not cleaning the grill before you do it.
Yeah,
You're cracking it right
I mean-
on some bacon bits and everything else like that was
Yeah.
scraped off the grill. I mean, you can really.
I mean, this is a deep rabbit hole.
There's
Okay.
a ton,
You know?
but it is
But no,
that's a
but
common
that makes
question.
me feel good because
Yeah.
it does seem like, all right, bacon, egg, roll.
Ooh, I just thought of one. Our friends that only put one egg on a bacon,
hate
egg,
a
and cheese.
one egg.
Come on, guys.
I hate
Get it
when I
together.
have to ask for 2 eggs. Not at your place.
Yeah, that one right there is pretty shameful. We gotta fix that, guys. As a community, get it together.
2 eggs.
You know.
Yeah, 2 eggs always.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So tell me a little bit about the branding. I know you guys have, gone through some iterations, logos,
I'll
the
tell
way
you.
you set up your shop.
yeah, so I'll tell you, like even a lot of like the corporate-y sort of types that we talk to, for growing purposes, they're just enamored by this name.
I
man.
love the frog is definitely a different look.
Yeah.
I've met some people on planes and stuff, and I know they're remembering the frog because
Yeah, of
it's
course.
a different thing.
Yeah.
And I think it attracts that.
Yeah.
So I guess the branding on that side of it, we just, as soon as we had the capital to kind of get together, we started just logoing everything we can. And then we trademarked it and got it all cleaned up because
Yeah.
we needed to make sure that it's owned by us.
We're still not even exactly quite sure of like how the name even started. I guess the original lady may have had a raspy voice. Then I heard another theory that there was frogs ribbiting in the back of our Somers location. I've heard a
Well, I
couple
mean, you guys
different
get
things.
to set the origin story. You can
Yeah,
make up whatever
yeah,
you want.
yeah,
I mean, you could just say the lady with a froggy voice used to serve frog legs.
Yeah.
know?
So we're not quite sure where that came from. But,
So we've been trying to get we've been, I guess, branding everything and logoing everything to try to put it out there more. Obviously social media helps out a lot with all that kind of stuff and putting our name out
getting
there.
all the shops in unison.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
then we just refaced most of them. I think
Yeah.
we have one left to do and, just to reface them. So they
got,
all
like-
look exactly the same.
got-
They have the same color schemes. You were going back to the build outs and the
Yeah.
structures.
We got butcher paper now, so every lunch sandwich comes out in like Froggy's butcher paper. It's pretty,
Oh, nice.
It's pretty weird. You know what's cool is like if I'm like walking somewhere in like an adjacent town, I'll see somebody with a Froggy's cup. I'm like, that's crazy,
awesome.
man.
That's awesome.
You know.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's great. So, I do want to talk about the partnership because a lot of people take on partners to do businesses, mostly because they just need more money. And then I hardly ever see it that a partnership is created equal over time. And sometimes they fall apart fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes they work. I mean, I've been partners with my brother since 2002.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges or hurdles, in that?
I think it all starts with like vision. You got to be on the same page at some
And how
level.
do you make sure you're on the same page? Do you guys have meetings? Did you have like regular meetings and minutes? And
We just talk a lot.
We talk a lot.
We there's even times where like we don't even think we talk enough, honestly.
Yeah.
You got to have the same vision though, because if that's, one of the reasons it's down to me and to Tony now is because we're on the same page.
you just want to grow.
We're looking to put in whatever work it takes today
Yep.
to make it so that it's a sustainable and livable business that we don't have to be
Tied to
making
all
pizza
the
every day,
time.
opening and closing the store.
I mean, we're already going to be tied to it no matter what, right? It's just going to be in different ways, But instead of me being tied to cutting a slice of ham, I want to be tied to maybe talking of who we're growing with next,
Yeah. That's great.
So-
that's awesome.
I think good partnerships to make them work when they were there. We had meetings. We were having meetings once a week. We would do meetings once a week, try to communicate. We try to delegate to who was best at what they're good at. Because one of the things is,
strengths.
right, you gotta work on your strengths. You gotta play your strength. You can't if somebody's not good at operation stuff, you know what I mean? You don't want to put them in an operations thing.
Yep.
Same financial. If somebody's not the best financial planner and budgeter, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't put them in a financial situation where they're leading the finances.
1,000%.
I think that's kind
great.
of what we did with structure with us.
I think, even back to those guys, they were good for that point in time.
Yeah.
And then things change, right?
oh man, they change.
Yeah, and that's what the point is like you have to have the same vision because as long as it's changing and you're still on the same vision, you'll keep it going.
Yeah.
If it's changing and you're not on the same vision, people start to veer away.
I think daily talking to each other, whether it's 15 minutes or 7 hours, I think is so key. It's like a marriage, right?
Oh, it is.
You know?
It is. The one thing I did notice that we didn't do very well for a long time was we assumed, my brother and I, because we're together all the time, that we were having meetings. But that once a month, every 2 weeks, having a structured
Tuesdays.
meeting
So
where
we
you
do-
go over the numbers, you go over here's where we're going. Here's the goal was this for this year.
Yeah.
Where are we? Like those, it was kind of funny how you realize just talking and being with each other every day is not the same as having a meeting.
Yeah.
I can see that for sure.
We do meetings right now, an operations meeting every Tuesday. We review the plan for the week, what we're doing, what we're going to execute. We have a whole list of stuff that we do. We delegate out the list every week. We talk a little bit about finances there, mainly growing of sales most of the time. You know, what
that's
are we
what we're
doing to optimize the marketing, the pushing on the catering orders, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff now. That's kind of what we're doing every Tuesday. Once a month, we meet with our accountant. Me and him talk about finances all the time, every day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah. So we're certainly on the same page for sure.
That's great.
And we know each other's places too, which
I think that's a big piece of
I
it
think
too.
people need to put their egos aside. If somebody's better, if you're in a partnership with somebody, right, and they're flat out better than with you in the majority of the things, guys, understand that. You know, not too many people do. They want to fight for exact percentages, and well, it's like, dude, well, what the heck
It's
are you bringing to
benefiting
the
everybody
table?
in the
You know
end,
what I
you
mean?
know?
You're gonna make more
That's
money in the long
communication, though, too.
haul.
It's true.
If you put your, I don't want to say put your tail between your legs, but if you're gonna, these are the things that people need to realize, and that's a problem. What I think with a lot of partnerships is hey, if somebody's really bringing more to the table, they should be compensated.
There's a book called Built for Growth. I don't know. I know you're a big reader.
Yeah.
Built for Growth. It's a good one. It actually has the 4 different entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? There's drivers and, like there's different people.
He's had us do that a couple times.
I've had them take the test a couple times.
You should try that. It's cool, actually. It's very interesting.
In certain groups of people and certain people, they kind of work together better as a team.
Yeah. I've seen that with like personality profiles.
I think even as
very cool.
Even on even a management level or like, your corporate structure, whatever it is. I mean, even if they're not partners in entrepreneurship itself, I think even just like a supervisor manager, you should have them take it. See who's the leader, who's the driver, who's not,
That's great. And one thing that I learned about partnerships, and we have a lot of friends and colleagues that are partners, is that one thing I think people get wrong is thinking that everything has to be 100% equal. Well, you make 50 grand a year, so I make 50 grand a year. We took a 10,000 distribution, I get a $10,000 distribution. When you're partners, I believe the salaries should be in perspective to the work that you're doing every day.
1,000%.
But if you both put in the same amount of money and you're 50-50 owners, yes, distributions should be the same. Mm-hmm. But the salary, if someone's doing 90% of the work, well, then they make 90 grand a year, and this person makes 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
But when we go and take a distribution of 20,000, we both get 10, right? So that's one of the things that I think partners should kind of revisit often is kind of their compensation and contribution, because it can be a sore point. I've seen partnerships dissolve over that feeling of I'm doing more. It's like, just like you said, recognize it. You are doing more. You know what? You should get an extra 10,000
Yeah, I think
a year.
I think that's where you got to be like your wife, and you got in your relationship. If you have 2 kids or
6,
congrats.
When you have kids and you're leaving your wife at home and that you were supposed to be home at that point, you're like, I got to go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to do the right thing for your partners too.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that a lot of people don't get that close to the relationship and the partnerships as much. It's more in the relationship at home. Mm-hmm. I think you got to act like that in the relationship with your partnership too. You got to be fair to the other.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think there's some problems in partnerships too.
Yeah,
I think we ran into that a little bit on our end too. We had a big meeting a couple of years back where we had to really restructure our partnership because it wasn't fair. Yeah. And I was taking it on the chin and I was like, this is it. And I dropped the hammer and I was like, guys, we got to change this.
You end up there before you know it. Like you think everything is cool. And then you have all these underlying things that could be happening resentment. And then before you know it, you go, holy cow, how do we get this far?
I think at that time I was just like so in the weeds and so in the thick of it.
I was like,
dude, right now we're talking about this right now. Like, I get it. I fully understand. But
now you can ask him right now, him looking back at it, he thought he probably would vouch that was a good meeting to have.
Oh,
yeah.
Because without that meeting, it would have been a disaster.
Hey, the absence of conflict is typically not a good thing.
And nobody wants to talk about it.
Conflict doesn't have to always be bad.
Yeah.
Like you have 4 partners, 4 different types of people, 4 different types of ideas of what the business should do. I mean, I can't imagine that those meetings shouldn't have conflict, but it's not, it's when you can go in the same direction.
It's funny. The meetings didn't really have conflict. It was just like every once in a while things would come to a head, I guess.
Okay.
But I don't think it was I don't think they were that right?
Yeah, we would all kind of try to make decisions together, but I think it's just the workload was definitely
too much checking on people. At least now it's like, hey, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? It's like, okay, let's do this. All right, let's do this.
Let's go do a podcast today.
Yeah, let's go do a podcast today in Poughkeepsie. Okay.
So tell me a little bit about so you've got the 5 locations. Anything else exciting that you've launched this year by any chance you do something cool?
We
recently
are right now, actually.
Yeah, so we just launched our first food truck.
That's awesome. I did not know that.
We're doing a separate business. Froggy's is our main company. We have 5 units, and then we decided to go into a partnership with one of our managers that's done a phenomenal job. And she is going to be leading this charge of this food truck, and it's a girl frog, and the truck is called Lily's Pad.
Love that.
And,
that is
different menu.
That is brilliant.
Different menu.
Yeah. I loved that when you told me that.
A little brand split.
Yeah, it's a little a sister company,
but they match. That's That was really well done.
Yeah. So we're getting that going, and it's kind of cool because it's a little offshoot from us. We're like a real kind of not blue collar. We're white collar, blue collar, kind of everyday takeout business. But that we're gonna kind of go down this like a little bit of a different route that. We're getting into some different menu items. Yeah,
acai bowls, some avocado toast, things that aren't really our forte, but we're gonna take a crack at it.
So so we're doing that, a little menu change. Some things are actually going to get pulled over to Froggy's.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. We're doing some testing on the menu for the food truck, and then we're like, hey, let's launch that at Froggy's.
It's almost like a testing site too. In a sense.
What's the business model for this? I mean, are you gonna? How are you gonna? Where are you parking it? What's your business model? What are you trying to do?
So as of right now, we're just whatever we can. We're gonna take. We're not looking to be a side of the road truck. We're looking to do big events. I want to do music festivals, all sorts of big events, anything.
So people are booking the truck.
Mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. We're trying to do booking events. We had some smaller things. We were planning to do some maybe the Elephant's Trunk over in New Milford. Private events.
Who's in charge of finding all those events?
Jenna.
Yeah, she's going to hold it down.
Get on it, Jenna.
Well, highly recommend joining the Chamber of Commerce and things like that because they have a list of all the events, Mountain Jam, all these really crazy cool things.
Pretty widespread. I mean, I wouldn't care to put this thing on a trailer and ship it to South Carolina during the winters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Nice. We're just trying to get as many events as we can and go to.
And we'll see what happens with these trucks. There might be a second or a third Lily's Pad.
Yeah. So what's next? That's what I want to hear. You got 5 locations, Lily's Pad. Truck. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
If you could paint a picture, it's 5 years from today, and I'm inviting you back on the podcast.
I'm trying to hire you. I need some help.
What does your empire, what does your business and lives look like 5 years from now? What are you hoping to be?
What Froggy's is all about, and that's kind of going back to being able to restructure all this and try to get it to the next step, is just the culture and what we're about. We don't 5 years from now, you have a sick culture. Yeah, it's even deeper than that because we wanna help out these staff members, these managers, and everybody that works in the company, and kind of pull people up and give them more opportunity, right?
That. Yeah.
And that's like the key to all this is like, going from the deli world, people would be like, oh, what are you doing? Just working at a deli? Like that's like the going thing, right?
Well,
the customers come in and literally be like, hey, what do you just work at a deli every day? It's like sick, dude. Thanks.
I have people that still at my church will say, oh man, it was cold this week. How was doing gutters? I'm like, oh, it was tough, but we got it done.
Yeah.
But it's funny. But it's true. It's
But
like,
it is. But it is.
Like people say, "Are you still doing that gutter thing?" I'm like, "Yeah,
I'm still doing the gutter thing.
It's working out pretty good.
I go to the mall and my wife and me, we'll go to like the Starbucks and they're like, oh, Froggy's. I'll see it on the shirt or something. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, which one do you work at? Oh, I just work at the polling one.
That's so funny.
I just kind of keep it right underneath the ropes, you know?
Yeah.
It's funny.
But it's so I think 5 years out, we're looking to try to give opportunity to our team and grow. And that either comes in a form of corporate or we've looked in toward franchising, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And trying to restructure and kind of getting all this stuff going.
We're just trying to kind of line things up at the moment, try to get our ducks in a row, guys. Bear with us, but we're coming.
Yeah,
no, that's great.
So, and we're looking at the different ends of it, what franchising looks like, and this is how some of the conversations we even started here with brothers is that, you guys went down the franchising road, and how was that? I mean, we met a couple months ago, and it was like. So why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And he's like, I didn't even know why I did it.
I know. We just did it. It was crazy. And it's so funny that, what is it now? Like 5, 6, 7 years ago, our kids were on the same T-ball team.
And we're talking over there and you were probably just getting going, right? You were like really...
Maybe we probably had a couple locations at that point, but
expanded
we franchised, I think, by then.
So what was that? It must have been 2015-ish.
That's exactly when we franchised.
17.
It's 15. So it probably had 4 or 5 locations.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much things have changed for you in the past 8 years. That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, that's a crazy path.
Crazy.
And that's the inspiration a little bit too. It's like, this has been a really hard road. Me and him were talking on the way down here. And it's like, it's been 12 years we've been in business. Yeah. And it's been like every day you wake up and you're like, why am I doing this? Yeah. What's the point?
Well, I got good news for you. It only takes 20 years to become an overnight success. So you're almost there. 8 more years?
Oh, 8 more years, right?
8 more years.
Is that what you are, 20? Is that what it is,
a little
roughly?
bit more than that. But yeah.
I mean,
right about 20 years, though, for me.
That's when I started feeling better?
No, it's it's when people like go, oh, must be nice, and it's like, holy cow, and you guys did it a lot like us. Like, we weren't the smartest business people. We didn't like look and project out. We just did it. Yeah. And I think some of the best entrepreneurs and the best people that actually accomplish something, they just do it. I know too many people that get paralysis by analysis. They've run spreadsheets for years and they have every reason why they should and shouldn't do it. And before you know it, they're the people saying, you know what, I always wanted to do that, but I never pulled the trigger.
That's kind of where we're at, and that's why we had the conversations with you about it. I'm like, what are we doing? Like,
it'll never be a perfect time.
And it probably won't never be a perfect time.
But life,
we're trying to.
Nothing I've ever done was the perfect time.
You got to take the risk. You got to go. So
I mean, the culture that I've only been here twice now, but just a culture that I can see that you've helped instill here is like unbelievable, man.
I appreciate it.
Like, take a couple pointers.
Yeah, man. We came away from the last one. We're like, these guys were cooking burgers, like, you know what I mean? They were doing what's that thing you guys were doing?
The murder mystery.
The murder mystery.
That was really,
we were doing the murder
I was
mystery,
like, this is so cool. Everybody's smiling. Everybody.
Watch out for Kayla.
Yeah.
She's the killer.
Oh, that's what it was.
She killed Skylar.
Just to see your team, man, is very, very inspiring. Congratulations, dude.
Oh, I appreciate it very much. Well,
but that's why we're, we don't, like John said, we don't want to just be some deli that you're working at. We want to be like, hey man, I work for Froggy's.
Yeah, there's something to say about say about you're making all these positions and doing all these things and helping all these people out to pay their mortgages and their bills.
Yeah.
There's something to say about that. It's not all about the money. It's about like what you're getting back.
And you hit it right on the head. Once we started to make some money and our family and everything was taken care of.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
It was crazy how the most fulfilling thing, and it was fulfilling all along, but when you see that you've created opportunity and you see that somebody that is employed by you just bought their first house, you're like, oh my gosh, like that means so much more than any of it.
Yeah, we've had that once, but we want that more than once.
And here's one thing that I learned, and one thing that I'll impart to you is that sometimes you guys, me, we're the one blocking somebody from moving up because I refuse to give away that one thing, right? So every time, when I did sales, I had to step away from sales in order to let somebody else have an opportunity. And then when I stepped away from being a sales manager, they got to move up. So as you're growing, every time you step up, somebody else actually gets to advance, and then you can bring somebody else in. And that was really cool.
Well, that's what, John was driving up. He's like, well, what's the next steps going to be? Like, we might have some like downtime to the next step that we do, in a sense. Maybe he can kind of highlight
Yeah,
that
so
a
I
little
was
bit
like, what are we going to do? If we wind up restructuring this, one of the things you told me at the last time we were here during the murder mystery days.
so cool.
It was, you said, hey, go back and rewrite your job descriptions. And I was like, dude, that's it. And I'm working on that. I've been working on it for how long?
Oh, that's awesome.
But I'm rewriting job descriptions now, and I'm rewriting them, and I'm like, oh, wow. And once we're all done with the job descriptions, hold on, we have like, me and him are like almost useless if I rewrite this.
Yeah. And
I'm
you
like,
should be.
That's great.
It's
We'll be
great.
able to do other things
Yeah.
and work
maybe
on
some
things better.
podcast.
That's it. No, I mean, like honestly, you're seeing it, and I'm seeing it in your business. When you start to gain some time back, you become creative. When you're working 80, 90 hours a week, you don't even you can't even fathom.
You're in the weeds,
So, like,
man.
hey man, we're gonna put in a new technology. You're like, I can't even keep up with what I got.
Yeah,
right.
I'm hanging on by a thread, dude.
But when you start to come back to reality and you start to have some time, it's crazy how creative. So if you find yourselves running ragged, it's time to hire somebody, time to give somebody an opportunity because they need you to be creative. You're probably the best cook, but you're never going to grow if you stay there.
Exactly.
That's the reason we got out of the, going
Yeah.
back to what you said originally. It's like, that's why we were like, we got to scale.
You have to.
Because
I love
he
it.
could be the best cook,
Well,
but that's not
that's
going
not
to get
saving
him
us. It's
to
not
get
saving
anywhere.
us.
And how is he going to get anybody to make any more money?
Yeah. Unless, the only thing I can always say is like, unless you love it. You're like, I love
that's
80
what you
hours a
wanna
week.
do.
This is my passion. I would never want to do anything else. Then great. Then that's a great thing for you.
Yeah.
But most people, I think at some point, they actually get stuck there, and there's such an easy way out. And unfortunately, most of the time, the easy way out is scaling because, so what I've learned in business, whether you're a plumber, landscaper, it doesn't matter what you're doing. When you're doing the work yourself, let's just pick a nice, easy number. If I'm a landscaper and I'm doing all the work myself and I can pull down $100,000 a year, but I want to scale my business. Most of the time, when you go to that second crew, you actually start making less money.
which we didn't understand.
Yeah. And I didn't either. It didn't make sense. It's like instead of, you're doing 500,000 a year in revenue, you get a second crew, you do like 700,000. It doesn't double, right? Because it's not you.
Yep.
And you find yourself going, this headache, this guy didn't show up. Now I got to move jobs around. You're like, and most people just say, I'm going to go back to doing it myself. And that's why most people don't grow. It's typically when you triple the size of the owner operator business that you actually, now you're not doing the work, right? Which is really cool. That's the goal. Mm-hmm. But you start to make around the same amount of money, triple the size of when you were doing it all yourself.
It's so crazy.
That is so crazy because it's literally 3 times the size right now.
Yeah,
that we're coming up on.
We were just,
and you're right about
we're at break point. Like we're about to get into that next phase. Finally, it only took.
That's crazy that
5 stores
is
and a
true
food
to a
truck.
lot of
I
businesses.
did not think about the number of threes, but I was talking about the number of threes on the way here pretty much. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That kind of same thing.
I mean, this whole thing is, and it's crazy. We were just kind of, we took a break for a second there. We were talking about, just charging correct prices and things of that nature. Guys, we're charging the correct prices at a fair market value. I mean, we're breaking these things down in our Cisco.
We're
thing.
with, one of the other structures. We moved over to Cisco. Cisco, one of the biggest food distributor out there, and they have a whole program where you can put in your sandwich down to the T. It'll have like how much bacon is on a sandwich at the price that you buy it at in real time. So I can look right now and find out my food cost of my bacon and cheese in real time. And if it changes
down to
next
the
week,
minute.
as bacon goes up, it goes up with it.
Yeah. So one thing, let's talk a little bit about price because in my opinion, price is a direct reflection of value, right? And we'll pick on Starbucks because everyone does. It's an easy analogy and everyone goes there, but it's like $7 for a cup of coffee, right? And all of us know, how much does a cup of coffee cost to make? 10 cents?
15
cents?
15. Cup now just went up, maybe 10 cents. So maybe 20 cents.
20
I was
cents
gonna
to
say
make a
20,
cup of coffee.
20, yeah.
Right. So we all know, we make coffee ourselves at home. We can go to the gas station, get a Green Mountain, right? But Starbucks did something in their marketing, in when you go there, having baristas, like they created an experience.
They did.
That I don't necessarily, I like their fun drinks, like the macchiatos, like those are kind of cool, but their coffee it doesn't
Meh.
really,
Yeah.
it doesn't taste much better. I'm not a big coffee snob, but I'm not going to purposefully go there because I don't think their coffee is that much different. However, so many people do. So that's what I've realized early on is like, how can we differentiate? Because at the end of the day, I buy my gutter from the same supplier as my competition.
Yeah.
Your competition has access to Cisco. So if I'm going to get a better price, what is it that I am going to add in value so that somebody says, you know what? Well, I like the egg sandwiches over at Froggy's because they use 3 pieces of bacon, or it's always fresh, or their rolls, or like, so even if it's the same, how do we make something a little bit better? How do we train our employees to be extra friendly? Because that's sometimes all it is somebody,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many places I go into these days where they don't even acknowledge you. You're standing there forever. I love when someone on the grill, hey man, we'll be right with you. I'm good. It's amazing that even those little things can help you charge another 50 cents.
We were just talking about this literally yesterday, speaking to one of our managers. I'm like, hey man, if you see a customer coming in and they're getting 7 sandwiches and the guy looks like he's dying of thirst, say, hey man, that Gatorade's on me today. I got you.
Or something so small goes through the roof.
I mean,
dude, that happened to me at the Patterson auto body place. I went in for a cup of coffee and it was like this huge line. And the guy looked, he goes, you just have the coffee? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, take it.
And
I was like,
that's
awesome. So now I steal coffee every day.
But no, man, I mean, customer service, it's a forgotten thing, right? And we're really trying to re-harp on this with our teams. And it's
I think that's
you want me to tell you how to really make it go home?
Yeah.
Go.
Role play. Don't just tell them.
Literally
role play it. Walk in the door. Like you guys walk in the door. You guys like make it an all-day competition.
Man, that's cool.
Because
cool.
And it took me 10 years to freaking realize this.
This is 12 years in and you're telling me that I'm having an epiphany right now. What the hell's going on?
And it took me 10 that we would have we'd have world-class meetings on customer service and introduce yourself. But until we actually started role-playing it, these guys would never remember the script, right? And so it is a script. There is a cadence to it. There is.
Can we wear different outfits?
Yeah, you can make it really, really fun. But cool. I highly recommend role-playing. It's one of the biggest things that you can do in your business, because it is crazy that for you to be better than the next deli could be the only difference of you saying hello.
It's crazy.
Like that could be the difference.
Yeah, I think that one of the things back from when we were at our peak sales and when we were running it,
the stuff
I was obsessed.
Doing. Yeah.
I mean, I was taking people everywhere, doing things, talking to, I knew everybody's number.
I think he took like
kids.
30 guys on a fishing trip. These were the customers. He like rented a bus and took.
I didn't have any money too. Yeah. I don't know what the hell I did.
Made it happen.
Or something like that. It was like something like extreme like that. But I was like, you know what?
Back then we weren't paying to the budget, so it was just whatever we had to do. We had no labor because we were working all the hours. That's probably why.
Hey, but so when it comes to pricing something, it like, so you have to have value, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there, like when it comes to sandwiches and it comes to places, I know the place that has the crispy bacon, I know the things that I like and I might purposefully stop there. Right. But here's what I've noticed about pricing. And somebody gave me this analogy years ago and I'm just going to steal it and I'm going to pretend it's my own at some point. But you ever hear the saying, sharpen your pencil? When someone's giving a price, it's a New York thing. Like you're hiring a remodeler and you're like, hey man, sharpen your pencil. Getting a lot of bids. So if I think of this pencil, right? We've got this big pencil, and on this pencil, I've got to write all the things that are valuable in a business, right? So workman's comp, it's on this pencil. Mm-hmm. Service, quality food that you're not serving crap stuff, best products, this, that, all the things that we have that are of value, and right by the eraser is price. So when someone says sharpen your pencil, what are you getting rid of? And if I can go to your place and get an egg sandwich for $5, but the place 2 doors down is $2, what did they cut out? Did they make their sandwiches last night and throw it in a heater? Do they pay people off the books? Yeah. Are they not using quality ingredients? Like, so there's only one way to get to price. We're not even paying them.
You know how many employees we get that are like, hey, I left my last job because they didn't pay me for the last month?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
So no wonder why they can sell the bacon, egg, and cheese for $2. They don't even have a payroll. Yeah. They don't even pay their staff.
So pricing is an art. So when you see a big disparaging, chasm in price, and especially in the trades, why does this guy want 15 grand for a roof and this guy said I'll do it for $3 grand? Well, I guarantee something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is like, if you ever get a little, I don't want to say sticker shock by our prices, but guys, we're doing it the right way. We are legit
quality control.
Through, man.
We have good health department reviews. We got, all these things that come into play on it. We're using a quality product.
We pay all on the books. We get paid ourselves all on the books. It is a business, what I mean?
Which is and that's why a lot of people like the sandwich and the pizza business. There's a ton of cash. You can hide it.
And you know how many employees we used to, back in a while ago, it used to be we would have interviews and we'd be like, hey, we got to pay you direct deposit. They're like, yeah, forget it.
Yeah.
They would walk out.
And they were quality people, too, that could absolutely do the job.
And they just don't realize, and we've had to educate people over the years. It's like, look, it feels good now, because if I pay you $20 an hour, you get to keep all 20. But guess what? When you try and go buy a car, it's worthless. You got to start establishing yourself. So, but I really think pricing, it doesn't matter, honestly. If you can differentiate and provide value, we see people overspend all day long on everything, right? Whether it's the shirt, whether the car we drive, whether the coffee we drink that we decide to get from Starbucks or a gas station. And the thing is, we'll never be everything to everybody. Starbucks attracts a certain type of clientele.
Yep.
And they're not necessarily people with money. I see like the people that make minimum wage go and drive to go pay $8-9 for a coffee and a thing. So it's not necessarily
I will give them the one thing it is an experience, because I went to one over near our Brookfield store. I don't even remember why I was in there, but I was in there and I couldn't get over how good the customer service was.
Yeah.
The gals behind the counter they were on point, man. They were cracking jokes. They were having a great time.
I heard it's a great place to work at.
It is, and they take care of their employees. They provide some benefits.
I think they provide benefits for even
part-timers.
So that goes into the price of their coffee.
Yeah.
Right? So if we were all of a sudden going to give full benefits to our staff, guess what? Prices got to go up a little.
Yeah, that's kind of like the piece. We're not at benefits yet, but
well,
that's going to be coming down the road, and we can't raise our prices too much more, or we can. I don't know.
Again, it's the value,
but the value of it. So
here's the problem: is a lot of people are still looking at us as if, let's say our Brewster store, right? They're looking at us not understanding that we have more than some people. So they're looking at us like a mom and pop still. Yeah. And to some people. Then other people already think we're a franchise.
Yeah.
So we're in this very funky in-between stage right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy.
But here's one thing I got very comfortable with, and you guys are already comfortable with it, is you're going to lose clients when you grow. Right? When we decided to start growing, we were mostly entrenched in new construction. Guess who doesn't like their prices raised? A guy that builds 50 houses a year. And he's like, well, this other guy said he'll do it for a nickel less a foot. I'm like, we're having conversation over a nickel a foot.
Crazy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm like, crap. There's no value I could provide because it was not.
Where's that at now, years later? Are you getting new construction back again?
We get the big stuff because we have a ton of crews.
You have
I can go smash a condo complex in 3 days. And it'll take my nearest competitor a month or two.
3 weeks, a month.
Because they're going and they have other clients. Wow. So it's kind of neat that we do get some new construction, but I'm not getting the track homes. I can't do Toll Brothers. I can't. Yeah. We're not set up for that.
So me as a consumer, right? Like I'm saying, I'm thinking about you guys and what you do. Like I'd be calling you, like you are concentrated in that field that is you.
Yes.
Like even me, like I like pizza, right? I go to Frank Pepe's. They are, to me, like some of the best stuff around. You know what I mean? Like why, yes, I go to other places too, but it's like, dude, they have taken 100 years to get to that where they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like kind of weird with stuff like that,
Which is great, because if you have a choice to go out for pizza purposefully, you're going to go to Frank Pepe's.
Yes.
If you're really hungry, you'd be like, well, I got Sinappi's, I've got Abersanos.
Exactly,
you're going to kind of go, which one do I want?
I don't know. Like to me, it's like I want to go where the expertise is. And to me, I mean, that is like what you're doing is expertise. What the Frank Pepe's of the world is doing is expertise. I mean, it's crazy to me.
And so I think you guys have that same ability.
We're getting
what
there.
is the differentiator? Why are people going to you? And sometimes it might not even be the sandwich. It might be because of the client experience. It might be because how well trained your people are. Like, look at a Chick-fil-A. I mean, people are out the door. It's not. I don't think it's that great. You know, I don't think it's much better than anything else. But for some reason, when you go there and if they're busy, they're coming to the parking lot and they're getting your order.
I think it's the consistency. I think for food, it is consistency. I think one of the things it is with consistency, because it's so easy to change a variable. Like we were talking about the bacon and cheese before.
Yep.
If they crack it on the grill and it doesn't not clean.
I would just argue that that's the baseline.
Yeah.
I would say the baseline is consistency, but the icing on the cake is experience.
Yeah.
Right? So I think you're 100% correct. But if you guess what covers a bad sandwich? A great experience.
Yeah.
Right?
I was telling my managers this. I'm like, you guys got to learn people's names, man. I'm like, if you come in, right? You're Joe Schmo, and I mess up your egg and cheese, right? Sir, I mess up your egg and cheese. Can you give me a minute? It's a completely different conversation if I know your name and I know your name is Alex. Alex, I jacked up your egg and cheese.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, Tony. No problem. Thank you, man. There's a huge difference with this back to customer service.
Yes.
You know?
So
Huge.
Froggy's, my vision is kind of 5 years out, what we were talking about before, is kind of being that place, when you're driving through middle of New Hampshire and you're like, mom and pop shop, I don't know, I've never been there, never heard of them. Mom and pop shop, I don't know, never heard of them. And then you see a Dunkin', you're like, I know what I'm getting.
You do.
And I want to be that consistent, good tasting thing that you can find around.
Love it.
You know what I mean? That's where we want to be.
Yeah. No, and I think that's it. You start with the quality. I mean, if you don't have quality, you don't really have much to build on. But don't take for granted that experience. Don't take for granted customer experience, gratitude, really teaching a heart of gratitude. Do you know that they could have stopped in the 10 minutes from their house to their work? They had 8 choices and they chose us.
Yeah.
Make them feel like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you chose us to come here for an egg sandwich. It's free. Half the stuff that we could do to make a difference in our business
100%.
is free.
100%.
Yeah.
Really?
There's nothing else to say about it. You're 100% right.
Well, guys, this has been a really fun podcast.
Thank
you guys
you so
have
much.
built something incredible. It takes hard work. People don't realize it. You're saying 80, 90, 100 hours a week. People I always want to own my own business. It's awesome when it becomes awesome. But until then, it is a lot of hard work and vision. Yeah. It's a dogfight. But you know what? I guarantee you guys wouldn't do anything different. You are where you want to be.
100%.
And where you're about to be will continue to make it worth it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely, my pleasure.